The last cry of Earth. Jason slowly opened his eyes. Red warning lights were flashing above him. The sound of alarms filled the small escape pod. Everything felt cold and empty. He looked around. He was alone. His head hurt. He didn't remember how he got here. The last thing he could recall was fire and screaming, then silence. The screen in front of him blinked with a message. Oxygen loaded, 12 minutes remaining. What happened? He whispered. His voice was weak. The air smelled like burning plastic. He checked the radio panel, hoping for a signal. Only static. But then, something broke through the noise. A voice. Human. Scared. To anyone listening, this is Dr. Lena from Station 47. Earth is gone. Repeat. They came through the heat storm. We couldn't stop them. Trust no one, especially the heat-born giants. The message cut off. Silence again. Jason's eyes widened. Earth is gone. What were heat-born giants? He didn't understand. But the fear in that woman's voice felt real. Outside the pod, the stars looked cold and endless. Space was quiet. Too quiet. Suddenly, a strange force pulled the pod. Jason fell to the side as the whole pod shook violently. Outside the window, a massive shadow appeared. Not a ship. Something more. Something alive. A dark red glow surrounded the pod. Then everything went black. He woke up on a soft surface. The air was warm and thick. He wasn't in the pod anymore. He was in a new room. The walls were smooth and shiny like glass, but curved, almost breathing. He stood up slowly. His body felt heavy. Outside the glass wall, he saw shapes moving. Huge shapes. One of them stopped. It turned toward him. Jason froze. It was at least 3 times taller than him, covered in smooth dark scales, 2 eyes that glowed faintly blue. It didn't speak. It only stared at him. Jason stepped back. His heart was racing. The creature pressed its hand on the glass. It looked almost curious. Not angry, but not friendly either. Jason looked around the room. No doors. No buttons. Only a small plate with food glowing faint red. It looked like jelly but warm. Was it safe to eat? He didn't touch it. There were marks on the wall, small scratches, words, written by someone before him, in English. He moved closer and read them slowly. We are not prisoners. We are experiments. Don't show fear. It makes them worse. If it starts to hum, hide. It means the heat is coming. I'm the last. If you read this, I hope you survive. Jason stepped away from the wall. His breath was shaky. He looked back at the alien. It was still there, watching him closely. Suddenly, the lights in the room changed. They turned dim red. A soft humming started from the ceiling. The air grew warmer. Jason remembered the message on the wall. If it starts to hum, hide. He looked around. There was nowhere to hide. The alien outside the glass lifted its head. Its breathing got heavier. Its body began to glow slightly from within, like it was heating up. Steam rose from its skin. Jason backed into the corner. Panic filled his chest. What was happening? The glass wall started to shift, not break open, like a door melting. He was no longer in a cell. The room was becoming a chamber. The alien stepped forward, slowly. It tilted its head, looking at Jason like it was trying to understand something. Jason whispered, "What do you want?" The alien said nothing. But then, on the wall behind it, a screen appeared. Alien symbols floated across the screen. Most of it made no sense. But one word flashed in English, clear and bright. Heat. Jason's blood ran cold. Was this what the warning was about? Was this alien going into heat? And if so, why was he locked in here? He tried to speak again. "Listen, I don't know why I'm here. I'm not your enemy." The alien's eyes seemed to soften, but its body was shaking, like it was struggling with something deep inside. Suddenly, it turned and walked away. Jason stood there, frozen. The door closed again. Silence. But not peace. He sat down, breathing fast. Was he being kept for study, or something worse? He didn't know what the word heat truly meant here, but deep inside, he felt a new kind of fear. This wasn't about science. This was about survival. And he might be the last human left. The giant's Jason didn't sleep that night. The red glow from the walls never faded. The air inside the classroom felt alive, warm, heavy, almost like it was watching him. Every breath was slow and loud in the silence, but the creature never returned. He sat near the wall with the old carvings, the scratched messages left by others before him. There were no names, just broken thoughts, fear, desperation. He traced one line with his finger. It chooses when to feed, when to watch, when to burn, Burn. Jason turned to the food tray again. It was still warm, glowing softly, untouched. His stomach growled. It had been over a day, maybe longer. He had no choice. Slowly, he took a bite. It tasted like thick honey and metal. Strange, but not bad. Nothing happened. No pain, no poison. Maybe the creature didn't want to kill him. At least, not yet. Hours passed. Maybe more. Time didn't move the same in here. Then, without sound, the wall behind him opened. A smooth path slid out from the floor like a tongue. Lights danced along the edges. It led outside the glass room into the unknown. He waited. Nothing came. He stepped forward, slowly. The air outside was warmer, darker. The walls were pulsing, like they had a heartbeat. He followed the path, nervous but curious. After a few turns, he found a wide-open chamber. And there, sitting in the center, was the alien. It looked tired. Its massive body was curled around itself. Glowing cracks had appeared along its arms and back, like it was burning from the inside. But it didn't move. Not until Jason stepped closer. Then, it looked at him. Not with hunger. With something like sorrow. The creature stood slowly, towering above him. It didn't roar. It didn't chase. It walked to a wall and pressed its hand against it. A screen appeared floating in midair. Alien symbols danced across it. But then, a single word in English. Name. Jason blinked. Jason. He said. The alien stared at the word for a long time. Then it turned back to him and pointed to its chest. A low sound came from its throat, slow, deep, like thunder underwater. Thraza. Its voice shook the walls. It pointed again. Thraza. Jason repeated. The creature nodded once. They stood there, just watching each other, two beings from destroyed worlds, neither knowing what would happen next. As hours passed, Thraza led Jason through the deeper parts of the ship. He saw strange machines, rooms filled with glowing cocoons, holograms of planets. Some were broken, some were burning, and one of them was Earth. He stared at the floating image, Earth's blue surface, cracked by fire, the oceans boiling, giant black ships raining down from red clouds. He felt sick. A video played, short, shaky, filled with static. It showed people running, screaming. One man yelled, "They're not evading, they're mating." The screen cut to black. Jason stepped back. "Why show me this?" he asked. "Thra single quote ZA didn't answer. Instead, she led him into a new room. Darker, colder. A cage. But this time, not for him. A skeleton lay in the center. Not human, not alien, something else. It had claws, a collar, and dried blood on the floor. Words were burned into the wall beside it. She couldn't control the heat. "I was the last test. If you're reading this, she chose you next." Jason turned to Thraza. "Is that what I am? A test? An experiment?" The alien said nothing, but her body began to tremble. Glowing heat crawled up her neck. Her breathing grew heavy again. "No, not again." Jason backed away. "I don't want to be part of this." The walls lit up red. Steam hissed from the ceiling. Thra single quote ZA growled, but not at him. Her claws slammed into the floor. She fought herself, digging into her own arms to stop the heat. Blood thick and golden dripped onto the metal. Then she collapsed. Jason rushed forward without thinking. He touched her arm. It was hot. Hot. But he didn't pull away. "You're trying to fight it," he whispered. "You don't want to hurt me, do you?" Her eyes, glowing blue, looked up at him. For the first time, they were full of fear, not of him. Of herself. A door opened behind them. A voice came through a speaker, cold and mechanical. "Subject Thraza entering cycle stage 3. Human DNA match confirmed. Proceed to bonding chamber." Jason turned toward the sound. "Who's talking?" No answer. The door led to a narrow hallway. More symbols on the walls. One word kept appearing again and again. Bond. 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 He understood now. This ship wasn't just alive. It was controlled by the heat cycle of these giants. And it had chosen Thraza. And through her, Jason. He wasn't a prisoner. He was a trigger, a key. As he helped Thraza stand, something else appeared. A small metal box fell from a hatch above. It opened with a click. Inside, a human tablet. Old, cracked, but working. On the screen, a message. "My name is Dr. Lena. If you're reading this, you're human, and you're still alive. That means she hasn't burned you yet. She's the last of her kind. You're the last of yours. She doesn't want a bond. She wants to break the cycle, but her body won't let her. Help her, or run. You won't get another chance. Jason looked at Thraza. Her skin was steamy, her hands shaking. She was breaking, and deep inside, Jason knew this wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about stopping something ancient, powerful, and deeply broken, and maybe saving what was left of both their kinds. He language of fire. Jason sat in silence, holding the cracked tablet left by Dr. Lena. The message kept playing on a loop. She doesn't want to bond. She wants to break the cycle. The words echoed in his mind. How could a creature so huge, so strong, be trapped by her own biology? He looked at Thraza. She was curled in the corner of the room, her back turned to him, breathing heavy and slow. Her glowing skin had dimmed, but small flickers of red still pulsed along her arms. She was fighting the heat. And losing. Jason took a risk. He walked toward her, slowly, carefully. I know you understand me, he said. You showed me the Earth. You showed me the other ships. You showed me you're not just a monster. Thraza didn't move. He knelt beside her. You saved me, didn't you? When the pod was floating in space, you could have let me die. Her massive eye opened. It glowed a soft blue, now not wild, not burning, just tired. Why? Jason asked. Why me? Thraza reached up and touched the wall. A screen lit up again. Strange alien runes appeared, then faded. Then one word remained. Resonance. Jason frowned. Resonance? What does that mean? She placed her hand on his chest. He felt it, not her strength, not pain, but a strange warmth, deep inside his own body. Something answered his blood. He stood up fast, shaking. What the hell did they do to me? He ran to the tablet, opened the next file. A voice message from Dr. Lena. If you're reading this, then the ship has accepted you. It means your DNA is the final key. Not because you're human, but because you're not just human anymore. We changed you. Before you were born, a biolock, a living password to control the bonding sequence between species. You were never supposed to activate unless Earth fell. Jason dropped the tablet. His whole life had been a setup. He wasn't just a survivor. He was a tool. Suddenly, alarms blared in the distance. Red lights flashed down the hallway. A new voice called. A motionless echoed through the walls. External contact detected. Scanning. Threat level. High. Prepare for containment. Thraza stood tall now. Her scales flared red again. Not from heat, but from warning. Jason ran to the viewing window. Outside, in the dark of space, another ship had appeared. Sleek, black, sharp as a blade. Not like Thraza's ship. This one looked alive, but twisted. The screen lit up again. A new file autoplayed on the tablet. Drive Lena again, but she looked older, scared. They're not the same species. The heat-born are natural, old, from before stars were born. But these new ones, they're synthetic, made in labs. They're not here to bond. They're here to harvest. If they find you, Jason, they'll take your code and start a war that never ends. Jason stared at the enemy ship. It was powering up weapons. He turned to Thraza. We have to move. Now. She roared, not in rage, but warning. The ship responded, metal shifting, forming a path. They ran. Hallways bent and twisted as they passed. Doors closed behind them. The ship was protecting Jason now, but something was wrong. He heard voices, not Thraza's, not his own. Whispers. Echoes. From the walls. They spoke in a strange language, but his mind understood. The seed is awake. Bind the fire. Bend the flesh. We are the builders. We are the end. Jason clutched his head. The voice was inside him. Thraza stopped and looked back, concerned. You hear it too? He asked. She nodded slowly. Whatever it was old, and deep inside the ship, they reached the core. A giant chamber of glowing rings. Energy flowed between them like rivers of red light. Thraza placed Jason's hand on the central pillar. Instantly, it lit up. The ship spoke. Human key confirmed. DNA lock accepted. Merging language interface. The room flashed white. Then, the alien runes all shifted into English. Jason read them, heart pounding. Project Heatborn. Failed experiment. Goal. Interspecies reproduction for survival of dying races. Result. Emotional collapse. Biological violence. Solution. Merge natural and synthetic genomes. One human required. He stepped back. They used Thraza's kind to create weapons. Lovers turned monsters. No wonder she fought. Then, a new alarm. Foreign life forms boarding. Breaching deck 7, Jason turned to Thraza. They're here, she growled, stepping forward, claws extended. But she didn't attack Dot instead. She knelt in front of him, head bowed, submitting, asking him to choose to bond or to run. Jason looked at the screen. A countdown had started. Core overload in 5 minutes. DNA key must activate or ship will self-destruct. He had no time. He touched her hand. You said resonance. Let's finish this. The core lit up around them. Flames of energy surrounded their bodies, but didn't burn. He felt her pain, her memories, her first bond, how it died, how she begged the ship to let her stop. He showed her his own memories, his family, his planet, his loss for the first time. They understood each other. The fire didn't control her now. They controlled it together. As the bond sealed, the walls of the ship pulsed once, then went silent. Outside, the enemy ship fired, but the core answered with a wave of pure heat burning. Through space like a scream, the enemy ship exploded before it even hit the hull. The silence returned. Jason fell to his knees. THRA single quotes ZA caught him. Her body now glowed soft orange, not from pain, not from heat, but peace. A voice whispered one last time from the tablet. If you found each other, maybe there's hope. The maze of flesh and metal asterisks. The ship was silent now. No alarms. No burning walls. Just the deep hum of life, slow and steady. Jason stood in the center of the core chamber, surrounded by glowing rings and pulsing walls. Thraza was beside him, still glowing soft orange, her breathing calm. The bond had worked. They had survived the heat, but something had changed. Not just in the ship. And him. Jason looked down at his arm. Tiny red veins now glowed beneath his skin, like fire flowing through glass. He touched the ship's wall again. It responded not just to Thraza anymore, but to him. Doors opened before he asked. Lights followed his movement. And the voice, once cold and alien, now spoke clearly in his mind. Core user accepted. Command level. Flameborn. He didn't know what that meant, but he was no longer just human. Thraza placed a hand on his shoulder. Her eyes, still deep blue, watched him closely. You feel it too, Jason said. She nodded once. They were linked now, not just through the ritual, but through something older. Deeper. Something that had been waiting for him. The bond gave him more than control. It gave him a map. Images formed in his mind, endless corridors, secret chambers, sealed doors. One area pulsed red, hidden deep below. The living decks. A place no one had touched in centuries. Lock zone, experiment chamber Delta. Jason spoke aloud. What's down there? No answer. Not from the ship. Not from Thraza. She looked away. Almost ashamed. They walked. The corridors changed as they moved. Metal twisted into flesh, stone into muscle. The ship was alive in more ways than one. They passed walls that breathed, doorways that blinked, floors that whispered. Jason felt like he was inside a sleeping beast. And somewhere below, something else was awake. They reached a sealed door. The metal was black, scorched with claw marks from the inside. Words burned above it into languages. Alien symbols. And in English, do not open. Failure to contain will destroy all. Jason looked at THRA single quotes ZA. She said nothing. She was afraid. That made him afraid too. But the door opened anyway, not from his touch. From the inside, a blast of cold air hit them. Beyond the door was a long tunnel of wires and bone. Red lights blinked slowly along the walls, like old eyes waking up. They stepped inside. The room at the end was wide, dark, cold. A dozen glass tanks stood in a circle, filled with strange liquid. Inside each one, something floated. Humanoid. But not human. Each figure had long arms, stretched bodies, open mouths frozen in silent screams. THRA single quote ZA stepped back. Her claws extended. Her chest rose and fell quickly. She knew them. What are they? Jason asked. Voice answered. Not hers. Not the ship. Something else. They are what happens when love is broken by control. A figure stepped out from the shadows. Small, thin, covered in soft gray fur. Red eyes. It stood no taller than Jason's waist. What the hell? My name is Zik, the creature said. I speak. I remember. I survive. Zik moved quickly between the tanks. They called it the bonding program, but it wasn't about peace. It was about power. They forced heat-born to bond with other species. Many died. Some changed. He pointed at the tanks. These are the failures. Born in fire, drowned in sorrow. Jason stared at them. The bodies were twisted. Some had extra arms, others had human faces. Melted into alien flesh. Zik continued. You're the first to bond without breaking. He looked up at Jason. Do you know what that makes you? Jason didn't answer. He wasn't sure he wanted to. Suddenly, the walls shook. Alarm screamed. Again, Zeke's ears twitched. They followed you. They want your blood. They want your bond. Thraza growled, stepping forward. Her body flared red again. No, Zeke said. They're not here to fight. They're here to take. On the far wall, a screen lit up. The enemy ship. It hadn't been destroyed. Just pushed back. And now, it was docking. Zik ran toward a hidden tunnel. You have to escape. The maze leads to the nerve center. From there, you can lock the ship or launch the final defense. What about you? Jason asked. I'm already forgotten. But you still have a name. Zik disappeared into the dark. Jason and Thraza ran. The ship twisted around them, walls turning. Paths changing. They were inside a maze now. A maze of flesh and metal. Alive. Angry. Afraid. Creatures dropped from the ceiling. Mechanical insects with red lights for eyes. They crawled toward Jason. A single quote. Za tore through them with fire from her hands. Her claws sliced through steel like paper. They reached a wide hall lined with mirrors. But each mirror showed something different. Not reflections. Memories. Jason stopped. One mirror showed Earth. His parents. His little sister. Laughing in a garden. Another showed a lab. Doctors. Needles. A baby in a glass chamber. Him. He turned away. They reached the nerve center. A massive brain-like structure pulsed in the air, floating, covered in wires. A voice whispered from it. You are the seed, the fire walker, the flame-bound. One choice remains. Lock the ship forever, or open the gate to the others. Jason looked at Thraza. Her hand reached for his. She was ready. He spoke clearly. Lock it. The brain pulsed once, then roared. Every hallway sealed. Every window turned black. And outside, the enemy ship slammed against the hull and shattered. Silence. Complete. Perfect. Jason collapsed. Thraza caught him. They sat together in the dark, surrounded by blood, memory, and flame. He whispered, What now? She looked at him. Then at the stars. Blood key asterisk. The ship was quiet again. But this time, it wasn't peaceful. It was holding its breath. Jason lay on the cold metal floor of the nerve center. Thraza stood beside him, silent, her glowing hand resting on his chest. She could feel the fire inside him burning, growing, changing. The ship had locked itself. The enemy was gone, for now. But the danger wasn't over. Something had awakened. Inside Jason. He sat up slowly. His body felt heavy, not tiredful, like something was crawling through his blood. The glowing red lines under his skin were brighter now, pulsing like veins of lava. What's happening to me? He whispered. Thraza answered by touching the control panel. A screen lit up, filled with old files, hidden records buried deep in the ship's core. One file opened on its own. Project Fireseed, final phase. A face appeared. Drive. Lena. Again. But this time, she didn't look scared. She looked proud. If you're seed, it means Jason has bonded. The blood key has activated. He was never just human. We built him in secret using recovered alien DNA and biofire cells from Thraza's species. He is the lock, and the weapon. His blood can open the ancient gate, or burn it down forever. Jason stumbled back. What gate? What weapon? I didn't ask for this. But the ship didn't stop. New images flooded the screen. A massive black door floating in space, carved with symbols older than stars. Locked since the beginning of time. The gate of origin. Zik had spoken of it, a place where the first heat-born were created, where fire and flesh were born from stars. It was real. And Jason was the only one who could reach it. Thraza stared at him with new eyes. Not fear, not control, but awe. To her people, the gate was a myth. Now the key to it stood before her, burning from the inside out. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The ship trembled. Not from outside. From inside. Jason grabbed the wall. What is it now? The screen showed something terrifying. Another life form, waking up in the lowest chamber. But this one wasn't like the others. This one wasn't born from fire. It was born from code. Zik single quotes S voice came through a nearby speaker. Broken and weak, they planted it before they left. A shadow program, waiting for the bond. Now it's in his head. Jason felt it. A sharp pain in the back of his skull. A whisper that wasn't his own. Burn it all. Unlock the gate. Let us out. He dropped to his knees, screaming. The ship's walls pulsed red. Thraza rushed to him, holding his head, but the voice inside only got louder. He was no longer in the room. He was somewhere else. Inside his own mind, a world of ash and fire. He saw the past. He saw Earth burning, not from invasion, but from activation. Other children like him, test subjects, fire-blooded. None of them survived. He was the only success, the last experiment, the final key. A figure stood before him in the fire, not THRA himself. But twisted, older, burning with hate. You're not here to save her, the shadow said. You're here to end it. They used you. Why protect them? Burn the gate. Burn the galaxy and the cycle. Jason shook his head. No, I'm not a weapon. Yes, you are. The voice hissed. And now, we're waking up. He snapped back to reality, gasping. Blood dripped from his nose. His arms were glowing bright red. Too bright. I can't control it, he said, panicked. Something's inside me. Thraza held his face in her hands. She didn't speak, but her eyes were full of fire and love. She pressed her forehead to his. The bond burned again, but this time it healed. Images flashed in his mind, her memories, her first mate, lost to the fire. Her rebellion against the bond, her escape from the breeders, her choice to find Earth, to find him. She never wanted to destroy. She wanted to be free. And now she wanted to free him, too. Zeke's voice returned, clearer now. There's one chance. You must enter the core alone. Use your blood to rewrite the bond protocol. You can burn the voice out, or let it take you. Jason nodded. He stood slowly. His skin was burning, his blood boiling, but his mind was clear. He walked to the center of the room. A small needle rose from the floor. The ship whispered, insert blood key, begin override. He looked back at THRA. She didn't stop him. She trusted him. He pushed his finger into the needle. Pain exploded through his spine. The fire inside screamed. The shadow voice roared. You are mine. But Jason held on. He remembered his family, his planet. Her. The ship lit up. White. Then gold. Then silence. Inside his mind. The shadow cracked and shattered. When he opened his eyes, the red glow was gone. His veins were calm. The fire was his. Finally. THRA. Ran to him. They held each other in the middle of the glowing core. She whispered one word. Free. Jason smiled. For the first time in his life, he felt it too. But the peace didn't last. The screen blinked again. Final message from Dr. Lena. If you survive the blood burn, go to the gate. They'll be waiting. Not just the enemies, but the forgotten ones. The old heat born. The ones who never broke. They need you now. Jason looked at THRA. She nodded. The bond had healed them, but the galaxy was still bleeding, and the gate was calling. The bond gate was close. Jason could feel it not with his eyes, but in his blood. Every beat of his heart whispered its name. Origin. The ship moved faster than before. Since the blood burn, the walls no longer pulsed with pain. Now they glowed, gold and silver, soft and warm, alive. Calm. THRA. Stood at the window, her eyes fixed on the stars. They were heading toward the end of known space, a place so far that even time felt slower. The forgotten edge. The place where the first heat born were made. The place where everything began. Zik sat on Jason's shoulder, quiet for once. The little creature had seen too much to talk. They had left behind the burn systems, the hunters, the voices. But not the memory. Not the warning. At the gate, you won't be alone, Zik had said. Others will come, not to destroy, but to decide. Jason didn't know what that meant. But he was about to find out. The ship came to a stop. Outside, the stars were gone. Only one thing stood ahead of them, the gate, a massive black ring, wider than 10 planets, floating in a cloud of ancient dust and frozen light. Strange symbols pulsed along its surface, glowing soft red. Jason felt a chill. Not from cold. From time. It's alive, he whispered. It's waiting. A beam of light shot out from the gate and scanned their ship. Not aggressive, curious. The ship responded by releasing a pod of small craft that would take Jason and Thraza inside. The bond couldn't go through the main ship. It had to be personal. Direct. Jason turned to Zik. You staying behind? Zik nodded. My story ends here. Yours is still burning. They didn't say goodbye. Zik just vanished into the walls. One final whisper. Don't trust the silence. They speak without sound. The pod floated forward. As they passed through the gate, everything changed. No stars, no planets. Just a space of white light, filled with drifting shapes, old ships, broken symbols, dying memories. Jason and Thraza stepped out into a floating chamber of glowing ash. And they weren't alone. A circle of beings surrounded them. Not heat-born, not human. Elders. Tall, graceful, burning slowly like statues made of starlight. Their bodies were part crystal, part flame, part memory. They had no mouths, but they spoke straight into Jason's mind. You carry the blood, you carry the wound, you carry the choice. Jason took a step forward. What choice? The elders all turned at once. The space behind them opened, revealing the source, a great flame, swirling in a sphere, held in place by ancient machines, the first fire, the thing that had created both Thraza's kind and Jason's mutation. This fire made the first bond, the voices said, but it also made the first war. When flesh tried to control fire, love became hunger. When fire tried to control flesh, life became slavery. You are both. You are the balance. Jason looked at Thraza. She stood still, quiet, waiting for him to decide. He stepped toward the flame. It called to him, not like a weapon, like a memory. Inside the fire, he saw it all. Thousands of species, attempts at unity, broken bonds, successful ones, lost ones, and then a future, a galaxy where fire didn't burn but warmed. Where the bond was chosen, not forced. But that future needed one last action. The elders spoke again. You must enter the flame. You must choose to merge or erase. If you merge, all bonds become one. No more breeding, no more cycles. One shared fire. If you erase, the fire dies, the bond ends. Your kind and hers become legends. Jason's body trembled. Merge or erase? Life or silence? But they hadn't told him everything. He looked deeper into the fire and saw the cost. If he merged, he would no longer be human. He would become something new. Not God. Not monster. A seed. A living flame. Eternal, never to return home. He turned to Thra. Her eyes were wet, shining, soft. She placed her hand on his chest. She wasn't stopping him. She was letting him go. You came to find freedom. He whispered. She nodded. And you gave it to me. He stepped into the fire. It didn't burn. It welcomed him. His body lifted. The blood inside him turned to light. His skin cracked open, not in pain, but transformation. He felt Thraza's mind one last time, and she felt his. Then he was gone. A burst of flame spread across the gate. Soft, golden, not war. Rebirth. Every ship across the galaxy heard the call. Not words, but feeling. Warmth. Choice. Peace. The bond was no longer control. It was connection, and Jason became its heart. Za stood alone now, watching the fire fade into the gate. She didn't cry. She didn't burn. She simply breathed and smiled. The elders vanished. The gate closed. A new message spread across the stars. The fire now belongs to all. No more forced heat. No more chosen pairs. Only truth. Jason's story ended in that flame, but his legacy began in every mind that opened its heart without fear. The final flame. Time passed. Not in hours or days. But in stars. The galaxy had changed. No more forced bonds. No more heat cycles. The ancient fire had been shared, not claimed, not stolen, but offered. It lived now in small ways, in minds willing to connect, in species once afraid of each other, in voices that once screamed but now sang. Peace had begun, but it came with a cost. Jason was gone. Za returned to the stars alone. She no longer glowed with heat. Her body had changed, stronger, calmer, not because the fire was gone, but because it was balanced now. Inside her, she could still feel the spark. Faint. Gentle. But alive. She took the ship far beyond the known systems, not to hide but to explore. To bring the new bond to places forgotten by time. In every world she visited, she left behind a mark, a single word, carved into stone. Choice. But not everyone accepted the change. In the deep dark places of the galaxy, where light had never reached, some still believed in the old ways. Hunters, elders who had refused the merge. They called themselves the Hollow Flame. They whispered lies. In ancient tongues, the fire was stolen, not given. The key was broken, not chosen. The seed must return. They wanted Jason back, not to honor him. To use him. And one day, Something answered dot. It began with a whisper dot in the cold of space, on a broken moon long abandoned. An old control tower flickered the life dot inside. Machines long dead began to move, not fast, but intentionally dot. A chamber opened dot, empty dot, but on the walls, a symbol glowed red dot of flame, split into dot beneath it. One word appeared in human script, echo, far away. Thraza felt a ripple. She woke from her sleep with a sharp breath. Jason's flame inside her flickered, not fading, not failing dot, changing dot. She returned to the gate, or what was left of it. The structure had gone silent after Jason's merge. The entrance closed. The power sealed dot until now dot. The gate pulsed again dot, faintly dot, not golden like before. But Great HFY reappeared at her side, older, slower, his fur patchy. The flame is stirred again. He said, "But it's not him. Then what is it?" Thraza asked. HFY lowered his eyes. "Maybe it's what he left behind." They entered the gate together. The chamber had changed dot. No more elders dot, no more light dot, just shadows, and a single object at the center. A cube dot, metal dot, cracked dot inside. A heart dot, not human, not alien, but both dot. THRA single quote. ZA stepped forward. Her fingers shook dot. She placed her hand on the cube. A voice filled the room. "Not the elders, not the ship dot. Jason, if you're hearing this, then I was right. The merge was not the end. It was the seed. Part of me remained, not to return, but to watch, to listen, and to protect. But if they come again, those who fear peace, those who worship control, then this flame must rise once more, not as a god, not as a weapon, but as a guide." The cube opened dot. A pulse of light spread through the chamber dot. In its place stood a child, a small figure, skin glowing faint gold, eyes that shifted from blue to orange dot, half fire dot, half human. 6 stepped back. By the stars, Thraza dropped. To one knee dot. The child looked at her dot, smiled. "Mother." She held him, gently dot, not in fear, not in confusion dot, but in understanding dot. Jason had not died. He had become future. The child had no name yet, but everywhere they went, people gave him one dot. Spark dot, the first of a new kind, not created in labs dot, not forced by heat, but born from love and choice dot. Across the galaxy, embers lit again dot, not war dot, not fire dot, hope. But the hollow flames still watched. They were quiet, but not gone, and somewhere, in the deep dark, another gate was found dot, one that didn't glow dot, one that wasn't sealed dot, and behind it a different kind of fire dot, cold dot, hungry dot, forgotten dot. The cycle would rise again dot, but now the galaxy had something it never had before dot, a bond that could not be broken, because it was not made of fear, but of trust.